Good day, Ty. How are you?
Hey, Carol, I'm doing pretty good. Can you see me?
I can. Can you see me? No, not yet. Yeah.
All
Let me
right.
just rename. Are we live?
No, yes, we're live on Facebook, but I just let everyone in as well. Uh,
Okay, great. I'm just gonna try and rename.
okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Great morning, everyone. Great day, great afternoon, great night. How's it going for everybody? Can't believe it's Friday again. Like it
I
sounds like
know.
I just said that. Thank you, Chris, for requesting access. Seems like I just said that last week. Well,
I know.
I'm gonna
Do we sleep in between these meetings? I think we do.
I think
Just
so. I think so.
let
Here
me
we go.
just change my name from Ty to Caroline.
All right, guys. So how's everyone doing? Brenda, Jacob, Megan, George. All right. How's everyone doing so far?
Great day, everyone.
I'm looking forward
It's
to this weekend. We have oh go ahead, Caroline. What were you
I was
saying?
gonna say it's sunny in the UK. It's lovely here
Yeah, and
today.
here, not so much. What do we have? Let's see. Actually, today it's 54 degrees. It's supposed to be sunny today, but yeah. I'm looking forward to this weekend because we have the fair. So every year we get like this fair that comes here and there's rides and just all types of stuff, right? And it's just so you get like rides, you have like there's race car events and it comes here to North Carolina this part of North Carolina once a year. And there's just like all these amazing different types of foods and everything. So I look forward to seeing this thing once a year. We'll go out. Sometimes we take me and my wife will take the kids. And now that the only kid that we have now to take is Summer. So we take Summer and her friend Faith, her best friend. Tomorrow we're gonna take them. And then this thing stays around for 2 weeks. And then what we'll do is my wife and I will go like on the last day or second to last day and we'll hang out and just, have some fun. But that's going to be my weekend, at least my Saturday for a
I
couple
was
of
going
hours.
to say, is that the whole weekend, Ty? Go
No,
there
yeah,
Saturday and Sunday.
it's going to be for about 4 hours at least on Saturday. I think my wife said we're going tomorrow. So one of the few
Wonderful.
times where I'm not where I'm just like okay with just like splurging a little bit. This fear because it takes me back to being like, a 15-year-old or so. So I'm looking
It's
forward
not
to it.
until we did the Money Morning meetings that I realized that you think before you spend. I didn't know that.
100%. Oh my God. And actually
Like think a
we're
lot.
gonna talk about that today. We're gonna talk about that because I have had a huge problem with just spending money in general, like just yeah, it's always been something that I've had a major problem with is spending money. And it's always like, all right, I gotta think about it for 48 hours, I gotta think about it for 72 hours. And there's good in that also, but there's also bad in it where you just don't get to enjoy life, right? So I was always just saving and investing and just recently until the last couple of years, I got okay with just having a little bit of fun.
I
So
would say that defeats the object of, money. So it comes naturally and easily and just flows. Whatever you spend, it more comes. That sort of goes against in a way, because obviously that hasn't happened for you. So whatever you're doing, you're sending out the right signals. You
yeah,
know.
well, you know what it comes it comes from programming, right? So growing up so super poor, money being scarce, not knowing if we were going to be able to pay the electric bill or the light or the heating bill or whatever. So you're always like, okay, any money I got to make sure that I hold on to it because an emergency can come up. And it's even after you have millions and millions and millions of that, it's like the mind is this thing that can just really screw with you until you take it and you put it in a chokehold and you're like, I'm going to take my life back.
Yeah, and I think you know what the biggie
I'm
as
not
well
crazy,
for
Diane. I see you. Diane's looking like,
Diane's like, oh my goodness. So yeah, the I think that with a lot of people who haven't had money and then have it, like maybe a large proportion of the population, we all know that a lot of millionaires, I know some people are born into it, but a lot of self-made millionaires weren't like that at one point. In fact, sometimes it was extreme, like you, Marty and Josh, homeless, all of, and then people that we know about that we watch on and read about. And I think that one of the biggest things that people worry about when it does start to flow in is it just stopping, or
Going back.
something happening and going back
Yep.
to the way it was. And, you know, what if I'm taking it for granted, or what if this isn't real and it's just a moment in time and it's all going to go, especially if you've had it and lost it, which is what happened to me. And then there's like some saying about it's going to add momentum to it, but you know, if there's then for people resistance around that happening again, it's a biggie, isn't it? And obviously program yourself for that not to happen. But I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, because you hear all about these lottery winners, don't you, that have like 55 million and then they end up on the streets. I know that's about what you do with your money, but there's also probably some energy around it as well.
No, 100%. And even like athletes and entertainers, right? So growing up where I grew up, right, we knew this guy, and he went to school with my older brothers and sisters, right? So he's probably, I don't know, maybe in his 70s now or so, 60s or so. But he was a fantastic football player and actually made it out the hood and made all of this money, and then like 10 years later was right back in the hood with us. And it was like, man, how do you get to a point where you make millions of dollars and then you just don't do the right thing with it? You're not charitable, or you're overly charitable. We saw that with like MC Hammer. Dude made like $30 million and then ended up going broke. We saw that with Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson made hundreds of millions of dollars and ended up going broke. So there's a balance where you have to, you know, Jim Rohn says, become the millionaire before you become the millionaire, right? So he talks about becoming the millionaire in your head before you become the millionaire. So you can't, you know, you have to start being disciplined with money, and you have to start doing the things with money early on. When you have $10, when you have $100, when you have $1,000, when you have 100,000, 10,000, you know, because once you get $1 million, if you don't have those disciplines and willpower, once you get $1 million, then, or once you get 10 million or 50 million, then it's gonna be nuts. I remember Jawar came by when we used to live in the first house that we built. It was a modest house. It was about we built it for like 500,000. And he was like, dude, and this was maybe like 10 years ago. He's like, how come you don't go in and get yourself like $1 million house or this multi-million-dollar house? And I was like, because I heard someone mention to me something one time. This was my wife's cousin. Then this is someone who works really closely with Will Smith and his wife right now, actually. So he says, you know, I see a lot of people who are who are house rich, but cash poor. They have these huge homes, but then they don't live life in any other way. Like all of their money goes into the maintenance of the home. It goes into the home, and they're not able to do anything else. So
that's so true. A lot of people are like that, you know, or they certainly are over here, where they've got, you know, several properties. They rent them out, and they've got and they live on really. I was talking to someone the other day about this. She's got about 6 or 7 properties, but hardly any cash flow coming in. The properties pay the mortgages, and so portfolio wise, she's looking good, but they're living on I was going to say paycheck to paycheck, but so
no, you
just
see
think,
that.
well, sell one of the properties, you know, and just sort of enjoy yourself as well. You've got to get the balance right, haven't you? Gosh, people putting some really interesting things in the chat. MC Hammer, I didn't realize this, blew 30 million in a year.
Yeah, that's why I was just talking about at the beginning. Yeah, so MC Hammer, you see the guys like that. Then even like the rapper 50 Cent, right, who bought Mike Tyson's house. He bought it in Connecticut, where not too far from where we used to live. And he says, you know what? I bought this house and I renovated it and I added some things to it. He bought Mike Tyson's house, I think, for 15 million. And he says, every day when I sit in this house, it reminds me that the guy who once owned this house was once worth hundreds of millions of dollars and fell from grace. So he said it was like a reality check to him to not go in and splurge on the unnecessary, to always be smart with his money and invest. And now you look at him, and this guy went from a rapper to someone who has produced multiple movies. He's acted in movies. He's produced #1 hit television shows, and he's had this career where he's been able to adapt and change and continue to bloom when many others haven't. So,
yeah. Ty, just to say that people in the chat are talking about what they've done since the meeting on Wednesday, and George has got a weighted blanket and also pillow arriving today. I have as well. I got an Amazon email to say mine both are arriving today. That's really funny, isn't it? Great minds.
Very cool. Yeah.
This box that actually just arrived before the meeting, that's my desk extension.
Oh, very cool. You're gonna like that thing. You're gonna love it.
They're very excited about that, so I can stand up in meetings. So we're all putting things. Who else ordered the pillow or the I didn't get the brands that Ty put here because I couldn't get them over here, but I got other, same sort of price, good brands. Who else did that after the meeting on Wednesday? Talk about take instant action.
Yeah, taking action. Brenda, I got my knee pillow yesterday.
Cool, Brenda.
Yeah, let us know how these things, like, they feel like some people you're gonna hate it, right? But like I put up a post on Facebook the other day about the weighted blanket, I think, and there was one person who said they feel smothered, but most people actually like them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was reading about them, about all the sort of anxiety relief and, lots of things about them. So, yeah, they look great. So I'm going to try them out, and then that'll be a stocking filler for the kids.
It'll be a great gift, right? I think they'll like it. Barbara says, I dabbled in real estate back in the early 90s. I went in several homes that people lived in. They had almost no furniture. I was amazed that they could buy a huge house that expensive, but couldn't afford the furniture to go in. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, Barbara. I've seen that also. And I said, you know what? I don't ever want to be that individual. If I go in, like when I'm going to buy we built this house right here, and it was our dream house because we have built other houses before. But I said, my rule about money is I have to be able to buy anything that I want. I have to be able to buy it twice and in cash, including cars or a home or something big like that. And it has to come from passive income, or else I don't buy it. Right. So my mom had taught me a long time ago when I was a teen or so. She's like, you know what? You don't buy things and you don't put things on credit unless you truly can afford it. So if you use a credit card, and I didn't listen, of course, your parents give you all of this advice. So I ended up going into my 20s and screwing up my credit and everything else. But if you have, typically, if you have one huge mistake that's traumatizing, hopefully you can learn from it. Right? So she would say you don't put things on credit unless you have the cash to afford it. And all these little things that she would say, and now looking back in life, she was just brilliant. She never went to college or anything like that. Grew up super dirt poor, but through trials and tribulations, learned so much.
Wisdom.
Yeah. It's just wisdom, right? So I ended up saying to myself, okay, well, here's some of my rules about money. If it's a car that I want to get, or if it's a home or something, I have to make sure that I have enough cash to buy it twice, to buy 2 of them if I wanted to, and it has to come from passive income. So what that did was that helped me to stay motivated and being disciplined with money and investments, and then also disciplined in creating these multiple streams of cash flow.
Yeah, it's all about the cash flow, isn't it? Knowing, and I got I'm getting an iMac, and got a MacBook Pro for Maliha, which she's wanted for ages. But in the UK at the moment, in some shops, like there's a shop called PC World. I don't know if it's the same. Like Curry's PC World. It's probably global. Yeah, they do this thing at the moment where it's 0%. So I thought, well, it's going to be $100 a month for both of these devices. I've got the passive cash flow that will come in and cover that. So then I may as well just put it on because it's like 0%. So it's not like you're going on 20% interest. So that sort of thing, I think, sensible. It's when, and I've done this in the past, in my 20s and 30s, where you sort of get something and you just think, if something goes wrong, I actually couldn't afford that. Something goes wrong, I can get those things and just pay off the balance. But it's those sorts of things which I think are sensible. It's just like you say, don't get credit when you don't know if it's going to come in or your income's going to go down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you learn from the mistakes, right? So, I mean, and that's the thing. If you don't learn from the mistakes, then you become the mistake. Like our life
Yeah.
ultimately is an accumulation of the things that we do repeatedly, whether they're good or whether they're bad. So let's jump into it. So let's see. You know what? Before we do, I was reading last night. I was reading a post that Marlou Smeets had put up, and I want to congratulate two people. Actually, number one, congratulate. I think Nancy has a birthday today, so I want to congratulate you for having a birthday today, Nancy, which is very, very cool. Three people. I want to also congratulate Yvonne. It looks like you have an anniversary today. All right, so that is very cool. And then I want to congratulate Marlou Smeets. She got her first book going live yesterday. She has 29 pre-orders organically, she said. So she put this in Facebook. I was literally just reading it this morning. And here's what she said. She said, today is Marlo even on here? She said, today is so special for me. I literally made my first money ever online, and having put all the moving parts together, I now own digital real estate. I've never even considered this in April of this year. It's out there, ready to generate money over and over again. I feel so grateful and proud. I had a small celebration with my family and went out and about. And then, fun fact, when we came out of the store, my dream car was parked right next to ours. I was like, oh my God, this is the universe talking to me. It's a sign. So very cool, Marlo. That was great news to see this morning there.
Yeah, it's a great post. It's really motivating for people starting out, isn't it? Because I brought Marlou into the fast pass. Oh no, micro offers and the fast pass over the last couple of months. So
Yeah.
really starting from scratch, and she's already taken massive action. Yeah, she's not here. That's a shame for a shout out. We'll let her know that she
Yeah,
had
we'll
a
have to
shout
let
out.
her know.
Yeah.
All right. So the quote for today is yes, your transformation will be hard. Yes, you will feel frightened, messed up, and knocked down. Yes, you will want to start. Yes, it's the best work you'll ever do. And this comes from Robin Sharma. And it's just about, our continuously ever-changing mission to transform and to become better and to become the next best version of ourselves. And there's got to be moments in life where you just, have you guys ever come across a book or maybe a movie or a person that has literally had an impact on your life? And if you go back to that thing, it kind of reminds you of some of the changes, like you've had like these paradigm shifts. For me, that was Jim Rohn, right? For me, it was just listening to Jim Rohn and just hearing different things that he would say. And then later, being able to introduce him to other people. I saw Marty had put up a post that he was listening to Jim Rohn the day before yesterday. So, me just really being adamant with Marty and Josh that they go in and listen to Jim Rohn and giving them some of my recommendations and doing this with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And then people coming back and saying, hey, Ty, man, this Jim Rohn quote is one that really opened up my eyes, or this one right here is one that really impacted me. So I would listen to Jim Rohn and all of these little things that he would say, right? Hey, don't say if it could. And don't say if it were, don't wish that it was easier, wish that you were better. Like for me, that was a big one. Like, don't wish that it was easier, wish that it was better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. That was a huge eye-opener for me. And then, either you run the day or the day runs you. So listening to that and hearing that for the first time. And then at the same time, I was listening to Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. And in Outwitting the Devil, he talks about how most people drift through the day. So the same thing day after day after day, and there's no intention put into how they're going to run their days. Jim Rohn saying, if you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree, right? So all of these little, and the biggest one one of the biggest ones, because there's probably about 40 of these, for me was one day, if you don't make changes now, one day you end up waking up, eating what you don't want to eat, driving what you don't want to drive, living where you don't want to live, and you have the ability to change it, start making changes right now. For me, that was majorly impactful. We still lived in Connecticut at this time. Me and my wife had just gotten married around that time. We were struggling, damn near on the verge of losing our house. And I was like, this is so true. Like, I have all of the ability to change the future that myself and my family would experience if I start doing things now. So consistently listen to Jim Rohn and all of these little things. Learn how to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. So not being ungrateful for where I was at, but still having these gratitude moments and being totally grateful for the moment, but knowing that there was more for me out there and more for my family. So if you guys have not listened to Jim Rohn, he is one of my favorite. I like to call him a philosopher, because I think he's just a master of philosophy. Definitely go and listen to him. But who has that been for you? Like, what book or what movie or what television show or what moment? Sometimes there's a moment. I'll tell you another person who it's been for me is my sister Rhonda. So my older sister Rhonda. So when I grew up, I mean, there was so many gangs and just everything. I saw so many of my friends. I remember one of my friends getting killed by another one of my friends at 15 years old on a bike. Kid killed one of the other kids on a bike. And that was just normal stuff. Like, we would see this stuff like at least every summer, 3 or 4 of my friends would get killed. Guys that I would be with on a regular basis. And then the next day, so my sister Rhonda, her being maybe, I think she's 11 years older than me. She was always say these little things like, hey, be strong, watch out for these punks on the battlefield, and just different things. And hey, Ty, you're super smart, and make sure that you make the right choices. And just pouring into you. So sometimes it could be someone that you don't know, and sometimes it could be someone that you do know. Now, at this time, as she's saying these things, I'm 15, I'm 16, I'm 17 years old, and all that was on my mind was destruction. That was it. But her pouring all of these things into me over years ended up doing something where you ultimately start to see that you're worth more than what your current circumstances might be showing you. All right. So I share that with you because it is always important to have someone that you can pour into, because you never know how it might be changed, how it may change your life. For I could easily right now be dead or in jail if it had not been for, of course, I've had a ton of other people, my mom and my dad, but I distinctively, there's so many things my mom said and my dad, but my sister Rhonda, and the reason why her saying these things to me was so impactful, because she was going through so many things in her life, right? She was in and out of, we used to call them mental institutions. She was in and out of jail in her 20s and just always fighting in the projects that we grew up in, but person that no one wanted to mess with, right? So for her to be able to have this super rough life and to be this extremely troubled person, saying these things to her younger brother, and now in hindsight, I could see it, because she didn't want me to go through the same crap that she was going through. Even though I did end up experiencing some of those same things, she didn't want that to become my permanent position in life, right? So sometimes you see the hard, and you see, I was having to talk with my older brother who's having some hard times right now. And I'm like, dude, like, what we come from. Like, how could you come from what we come from and let seemingly little things get to you? So I'm like, there's no problem that I could ever face other than death, right? The death of a loved one or something like that I could ever face that could bother me. Like, I went through the world.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because that's why you don't react to the little things like other people might do, because of that massive contrast in your childhood. There's so many people, I put in the chat that I had a really sheltered childhood. Didn't see anything bad. Didn't experience it. In fact, when I was a child, I wasn't even allowed to go to funerals if an elderly relative died, which actually I don't necessarily agree with, but really, really sheltered. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I just didn't experience. And the area that I lived in, there was none of anything, it was like big crime if someone goes to the shop and steal some sweets, you just don't do that, you know,
Right.
really very much like that. It's a bit like that in the UK even now. But a lot of people have put that, you know, that they've had a, you know, they had a really sheltered childhood or amazing childhood or whatever as well. And it's interesting because I found that as I grew up to be an adult, I couldn't handle things. If someone got ill or died, I just couldn't handle it. When Dad died, I just couldn't, you know, handle
I think that's different now. When someone that you love died, like, I mean, we're supposed to have the normal emotions, and I think that's different. A parent,
but even things like at work, if someone was, you know, not very nice or whatever, it used to bother me. And I'd like lose sleep over it if someone wasn't being nice to somebody else or me or whatever. I've learned to become resilient over the last sort of 10 years, but it's interesting how, because I've noticed with you, things happen, not that they do very often in our space, but you won't react, you just won't have that emotion, and that is because of the extreme things that you went through. So actually,
you know what it is actually because I used to let things worry me like crazy. I would lose sleep over things too. But I also realized that, listen, 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, it's not going to be the same. So that I just recently started working on, maybe within the last 5 years. But also I put it in contrast, like this problem here versus something I saw when I was in my 20s, right, or my teens, a friend who I used to have a bond with no longer being here and he's never coming back. Like that's a major issue versus, you know, someone saying something about me or so, right? Or conflict. So, but I also realized that honestly, it's like we just had Hurricane Irene, right? Which was devastating for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their homes and things like that. So I'm not negating that. But also that storm came in, and as terrifying as it was, and as destructive as it was, even as far north here as North Carolina, it came and gone. And most of the things that come into our life that are not super significant outside of death, right? Outside of something like, you know, someone getting, raped or something like that. I'm talking about really extreme things. Most things are going to come and they're going to go. And it's how we deal with ourselves in between those moments that impact everything else. So when I learned that most events are storms that can come in, and it's going to be a rainy storm, it might be super turbulent, right? It might be crazy. But then in 2 days from now, it's going to be sunny outside. That allowed me to handle things a little bit better. It doesn't mean that I still don't lose sleep, but it means that I don't let it take up mental space in my head.
I was looking at a Joe Dispenza interview on YouTube the other day. He was talking to, I can't remember the guy, young guy. I don't follow this guy, so it just sort of randomly came up. I'll get the name as I talk. He was talking about reactions, and when the interviewer was saying, "Oh, you know, I bet you sort of don't react to the things that a lot of people do," and he said, "No, I react every day.
Yeah,
I react several times a day, you know, but I go off and sort myself out and then come back, and sometimes it takes 2 hours." Yep. To come back before I go then and talk to the team or whoever, whatever the situation is. But he said he's mastered the ability to react, but to be able to manage the time of the reaction. So if it's something that happens, whatever, okay, I'm going to give that 10 minutes. I'm going to give that, obviously it depends on the severity, but that's really powerful. And I've practiced that. And that is, that helps you to control the day, your mind, all of those things. So it's not like you're not going to react. So we're human to whatever the situation is, but it's about how you react and how long that reaction takes. I could go down for a day if something happened in the past that wasn't very nice at work. I could let that bother me for a day, whereas something like that now might bother me for 5 minutes.
That's
so you're not
sort of
repressing emotions.
Yeah, and that used to be me too. I would have a problem at work or so, or whatever it could be. We're counting out the safe at work, as when I used to work at Walgreens, and if the safe was off or over, because you could get in trouble if the safe was over $1 or $5, and I'm losing sleep for a freaking week thinking about the thing, right? And I just realized that there's some things that are worth it and some things are not, and just like living in the past as well. I think also I think one of the biggest mistakes that we can make as humans is living in the past for too long. The things that we should have done, the things that we could have did but didn't do, right? And
we always exaggerate the past, don't we? That relationship where, yeah, that person did this and this, and all the bad things, and you forget that actually that was just a pocket of the whole 5-year relationship, or whatever. That guy's name, he's really good actually. It's Lewis Howes, is it?
Lewis Howes, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know him so well, but yeah, he's probably really, really famous. But he does lots of interviews with Joe Dispenza, and they're really the content, and it's all about the letting go of the past, because how we react is because of the past, letting go of the past, and then how to create your new reality and create your new personality, which is all the stuff that we talk about on these meetings.
Yeah. The past is one of those things that could really screw with us, and I just don't have a tolerance for letting things that happen in the past drive my future, because it can't, right? So Joe Dispenza, one of the things that he talks about, he's like, the wake, if you think about a speedboat, right? So you've got this speedboat, and I'll use this little glass board eraser. This is the speedboat here. And the speedboat is heading towards our future. And then the wake is everything that comes after the speedboat. Has no effect on what's happening with the speedboat, but many people still go in and they focus and they concentrate and they put so much time on the wake, as if the wake could propel the speedboat, and it can't. Right? The speedboat propel yourself. The wake has nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, if you look back, the wake soon disappears. But it's if you think that the wake can drive your speedboat, then that's really being misguided there. And it's actually not a normal way of thinking. So we stay so attached to the past, and listen, we screw things up all the time. And it's like, well, we learn from it and we push forward. But if you waddle in the past, but too much before you know it, you're living your past in your future, and it doesn't do anything for you. All right, guys, so we're halfway into it. I got a really cool exercise. So on Wednesday, I talked about how do we go in and we expose the lies, right? How do we expose the lies that we've been telling ourselves for so long? And many of these things, as I talked about earlier, I said, lie to myself about money and different things like that, right? So I want to share an exercise with you, and it's called exposing the lies, right? So here's the thing with this, right? I want you guys to do me a favor, and I want you to kind of refrain from typing in the chat box for like the next 5 minutes or so. And I'm asking you to do that for a reason, right? Until I'm done talking, because I want you to really get this. All right, because it can really change things for you, like on so many different levels. This exercise has changed things for me on so many different levels, so many different levels, but you won't hear it. This is like what I was talking about MC Hammer earlier and him losing 30 million, and then someone didn't hear what I was talking about because there's so much activity in the chat box. So now the chat box is amazing. It's great, right? But now for just 5 minutes, I want you guys to just give this your attention, because it will help you. And I want you to hear things. You'll be distracted if you're in a chat box. You won't hear it. You'll hear it, but you won't process it. All right. I'm even going to speak slowly so that you get it. Now, this is an exercise that has been, like I said, really, really transformational for me. And it continues to be so on so many different levels and so many different areas of my life. So over the weekend or later today, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go grab like a notepad and then grab a pencil and then grab a red pen. So this is an exercise I do at least at a minimum once a year, and I'm going to do it again this weekend as well. Then I want you to write down all of the lies that you believe about yourself. I'll say it again. I want you to write down all of the lies that you believe about yourself. Write down the lies that other people have told you about yourself, things that perhaps you heard growing up, during your childhood, as an adolescent. Write down the lies that you've heard or may have been told as an adult, right? By family, friends, by society. It's a big one. Write down the group lies that you've heard. these types of people are this, or all men are this, or women are this, right? Or children are this, right? Write down all of the lies that you've heard, whether it's about your business, your fitness, your relationships, money, your personal ability, weight loss, men, women, family, friends, spirituality, health, whatever, right? So regardless of if you remember where you got the lie from initially or not, because in most cases, we don't even remember where we got these lies from. So for example, for most of my life, I told myself that I had a bad memory. And the reason why I told myself that I had a bad memory is because with me having sickle cell anemia, everything that you would read said that having sickle cell anemia because of the lack of oxygen in your blood cells would contribute to cerebral issues and memory loss. So would read this, you would hear doctors talk about it, you would hear hematologists talk about it, right? And you're hearing this all through life. So what do you think? And I've got a bad memory. So even if it was something as then, and I had to think about this later in life, and I said, man, even little things like maybe forgetting where you put your keys at, right? Everyone does that every once in a while. You chalk that up to, oh my God, it's a sickle cell and this damn bad memory that I get because of this thing. When in actuality, no, everyone kind of forgets where they do, they put things every once in a while. Right? So that was one of the lies. Another lie that I've always told myself is that I'm not good at sports. Right? Not good at sports. Again, for having this very sheltered life and being protected by my mom and not being allowed to do certain strenuous exercises, right? So that's what they would say. You could go into a sickle cell anemia crisis and end up being sick. And that happened to me many times. But so I avoided, basketball and football, and I avoided baseball and things like that. Tried soccer once, but that didn't work out. But so I've always said I'm bad at sports, right? Or that money shouldn't be wasted. We talked about this earlier. So I would literally save and invest every dollar and seldomly spend, right? So early in my 20s, as I started my first couple of businesses or working at Walgreens, I would literally, I remember working at Walgreens Pharmacy and we would get paid every 2 weeks, right? And like sometimes I wouldn't even pick up my checks for like weeks. And I would have checks there. I would go in and I would pick up 2 and 3 checks. And I would never spend much money on personal things or just having fun and stuff like that. Or if I did, it was very minimum, right? I used to even live with this way of thinking where it was like spend 15%, 20% or less than you make. And then the other 80% you save or you invest, right? So that was my mentality for a super, super, super long time. Kind of changed that a little bit and have a little fun now. Now, here's a big one. I used to always tell myself that I'm introverted, like always tell myself for years that I'm introverted. And then if you guys were at KCF Live the other week, you know that Greg Caesar, very dear friend of mine, one of my best friends, him and his wife, Joanne, they had came and they spent a couple of days with us, right? He wanted to see how we do these events because he's interested in doing some events. So they came and they stayed with us recently. And him and I went to the grocery store. And as we were walking out, he's like, bro, that's Greg. That's my Greg Caesar impression. You guys who know Greg, you know that's him. Bro, you spoke to everyone in the store, from the clerk to the manager to the customers to this person to that one. And he says, I wish I was an extrovert like you. Right? So these lies that and Greg is one of the most extroverted individuals I know. Like I said, there's times where he'll come by and I just have to leave him and his wife and my wife talking and I just go and retreat. So this exercise that I'm going to share with you is the best way to meet who you are, not who you think you are right now, who you are, and to transform you into the next version of you and to remind yourself of who you really are, right? And what you're capable of. So I want you to write down all of the lies. So you're going to write down every single lie. Now, here's the thing. You might have, 10, 20 pages by the time you're done. Write them down. Here's the trick to this, though. You're going to write them down quickly, and you're not going to even think about it. Don't put too much thought into it. Write them down as they come to you. Boom, 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 boom. And remember, you're going to have pages and pages and pages, right? Things like, hey, money is hard to earn. Or things like, I have to work hard to earn money, right? because that was a big one for me. I used to have to, when I was working at Weds Fri, I would go in and put 50 and 60 hours a week in because I wanted to prove myself. So now I make money in my sleep with Kindle publishing, with recurring programs, subscription programs, digital content, real estate, right? So all of the different lies. I'm introverted, right? Whatever that comes to mind for you. I'll never get this business thing going. Everything. Even if you don't think you're cute, I'm not cute, or for guys, I'm not handsome, right? Write down everything. All the lies that you tell yourself about relationships, because we're going to do this in categories. Be it a romantic relationship, be it relationships with your family, be it relationships with your friends, relationships with your customers, right? Things like my family will never understand me. I'll never have a long-lasting relationship, right? I'll never attract my ideal partner. For me, one of those lies was I'll never get married. I never want to have kids, never getting married. And then once I started having kids, it was the absolute number one best thing that happened in my life, right? Getting married, the best thing that happened in my life, all right? I think I was the absolute best thing to Melody. I'm sure she'll say that. All right, then all the lies around your spirituality, whatever those may be, right? And then write down all the lies that you tell yourself about health and fitness, right? So remember, for me, it was that I had a bad memory and that I would have to live the rest of my life, here was another one. I would have to just live the rest of my life going into a sickle cell crisis every week because I used to get sick every damn week right? So that was my reality for a long time, up until I was in my late 20s, I want to say, and up until I was 29, right? Going in the hospital every single week, getting blood transfusions every 2 weeks or so, right? And then since I started doing this exercise, this has been something that's changed, right? Going from 2 weeks every week into the hospital to every 2 weeks to every month, and then now years in between. And I haven't had just those moments, right? So, and then write down all the lies that you tell yourself about who you are. I'm a slow learner. I hate reading. Because sometimes we'll pick up these types of lies as well. I kind of caught myself the other day saying it to you guys. Man, I don't like reading. And I'll listen to audios. And then as soon as I said it, I was like, what the hell? I love reading. I've got books on top of books on top, hundreds of books, and would literally sit up for hours reading. At what point did that lie come into place, right? Now, as you're doing this, just write them down. Again, don't think too deep, okay? Don't think too deep. Now, here's what's going to happen, all right? This is going to get super ugly for you. If you're going to be honest, this is going to get extremely ugly. Some of you guys are going to want to stop. All right. But we're 3%ers. We do not quit. We don't give up. We don't quit. Right. Now, don't fill out every single line here. Here's how I want you to do this. I want you to between every lie, skip 4 lines or spaces if you don't have line paper. It's best to do this on line paper. But lie and then skip 4 lines. Lie, then skip 4 lines. All right. So once you finish writing and you think you can't come up with anything else, I want you to go in and then read all of the lies again, and then you'll come up with even more. You'll come up with lies that piggyback off of some of the other lies, all right? And the important part is to do not rush. Don't do this in one sitting, all right? And then don't do this in one sitting. It'll take you about 2 or 3 days, all right? But don't put it off. Don't procrastinate again. And I'm saying don't procrastinate again because we know that many of us are habitual procrastinators. So you're going to do this. You'll start with this. Maybe start with it today. And then tomorrow you'll go in. As you're going through your day, you'll think about some of these things, right? And then on Sunday, you'll write some more, right? Write down all of them. And it's super important that you write the lies down in pencil. This is super important. This is why I want you guys to pay attention and not be in the chat box, right? Because there's some instructions. Write this down in pencil, all of your lies. So you'll have 14, 15 sheets. Some of you guys might have 16 sheets, 20 sheets. Then you're going to get a red pen and you write the truth in between each lie. Even if you can't believe the truth yet, write down the truth. So for me, the lie was, I have a sickle cell anemia crisis and I'm in the hospital every week. The truth was, I have not had a sickle cell anemia crisis in years. And I couldn't believe it at that time when I was writing this down, because my reality was being in the hospital repeatedly, right? And sometimes it's hard to, things that you see on a regular basis are the hardest things for you to get by, right? So even if you can't believe it yet, write down the truth, or what you want to be the truth, right? Most people are going to stop. And at this point, most people are going to stop and say, well, I don't know what the truth is, right? I don't know what the truth is. Okay, but there is a truth, because this is a lie, right? What you've written down is a lie, and every lie has a truth, even if you don't believe what the truth is yet. So be bold when you're writing your truths. Don't be squeamish or modest with this. This is your life. Nobody even has to read this stuff. Nobody's read my stuff. My wife hasn't even read it. No one has read my stuff, the lies and the truths and all this other stuff. So now that you've written the truth down, guys, you too. Now that you've written the truth down, you are going to freaking want to tear up. You're going to want to cry on both the lies and the truth, because you'll now have the truth exposed to you, right? So the truth that you knew, but you forgot you knew it. So because you've been living like you've forgotten who you really are, and you don't know your truth. So it becomes really emotional, right? So now you've written all of this down. You'll see the truth in between those lies that you've been living with and telling yourself for years, or for even worse, some of us for decades, right? The lies in pencil, truth in red ink. Lies in pencil, truth in red ink, right? So now you've written both. You'll read them all for 2 days straight. You're going to read them for 2 days straight. The lie, the truth, the lie, the truth, the lie, the truth, the lie, the truth, all right? 2 days, at least 4 times each day, because now what you're doing is you're training your brain. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. You're training your brain here, right? So now the next time a lie comes up, your brain is going to naturally default to the truth that you wrote in red, all right? Because you gave your brain 2 things versus just having this lie. Because when people say you're stupid or things like that, the only thing that you can counter with in the past, and before knowing all of this exercises, I'm not stupid. That was it. So now your brain is going, lie, the truth, lie, the truth, lie, the truth, all right? Then after the 7th day of reading lie, truth, lies, truth, you're going to get an eraser, all right? And you're going to erase all of the lies. This is why it's important to do this in pencil, the lies, the truth in red ink. After the 7th day, you're going to erase all of the lies. And the only thing that you're left with is the truths in red. All right. Now you're still going to keep, this doesn't totally erase all of your negative thoughts and negative chatter. That's natural. You're still going to have that every once in a while. But now your brain has something to counter it with. Right. Now your brain has something to counter it with. Now, this is not an exercise that you do once. Like I said, I do this at a minimum once a year. Right. And now that we're going into the new year soon, this is the perfect time to do it. Right. So you do this at least once a year, because new things are going to pop up. You overcome some stuff and then new things come up, right? This is something that I've done with my kids at an early age. Me, Tyler, and Summer, we continue to do this, right? My daughter Maya continues to do this, all right? So the biggest part of this is people are going to want to hold you hostage, right? And this is something that I've had to deal with a lot. So people are going to want to hold you hostage to the you that you used to be. Right? What are these new thoughts that you have? What are these new things that you're trying out? No, if it doesn't serve you for the better, to be more committed to the you that you're becoming than the you that you're familiar with being. Like, it has to serve you more to become the you that you deserve to be than for you to stay that you used to be, and that everyone else used to know you as, and that had all these lies and these limitations, right? And be committed to that transformation, all right? So just being committed to what it could look like for you. So this exercise right here is something, like I said before, if you go in and you try this thing and you put it into place, it will be an eye-opener for you, all right? It will be an eye-opener for you. I hope that this is something that has given you guys some value here. It is something, like I said, it is something that has really changed my life. And as we get older, as we go through the months, the weeks, the years, as we encounter different things, right? A lie for me, here's man, we have some crazy damn things that come up. A lie for me, I used to have so much problems mentally walking into a bank. When I was in my 20s and even in my 30s, even after I was making a ton of money, walking into a bank. Because I used to see earlier when I would walk into a bank, people would get scared. You're in your 20s and right, here you are. And maybe it was the truth, maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me. More of our mind playing tricks on us happens more than reality. Right? So you see these little things, you pay attention to them. But now, hey, when I walk into a bank, man, they embrace me, they love me. And guess what happens? When I walk into a bank, I'm having conversations, and this is even before they even get a chance to look at accounts or anything like that, right? So there's these little things for years when I was, again, in my teens and 20s, walking into a bank would be the most terrifying thing ever, because I thought that they thought, oh, here's this guy. What is he going to do? Is he coming to rob the bank? Is he coming to do all of these nutty things that go through your head? Right? So try this exercise out, guys. Really quickly in the chat box. And Caroline, I mean, what are some of the lies that, if you're open to it, I don't want to put you on the spot. You guys in the chat box, what are some of the lies that you've told yourself? Like, what are some, give us one thing at least, or Caroline, you got one thing or something that you've told yourself, and that, you think is just that.
I think, but it's the thing that you sort of read about and hear about a lot, and people say that as you get older, health things are going to happen. You're going to get ill, or things are just going to happen to you, and that is all around us. And it's about the belief that no, as I get older, I get fitter and healthier. So that's a really biggie for me, because sometimes I sit with fear around that. And, what's that pain? Or what does that mean? Or does that, and you can get, I used to get worried about things like that. So it's changing that lie, because it is a lie. I mean, we know the body changes, but even so, it's that belief that doesn't have to be your story. The interesting thing as well is the lies can also come from, they're going to come from the past as well. What we were talking about with the past before, but I can't walk in a bank, but for different reasons. Something that happened in a bank in the past, and as if it's going to happen again, and that's a lie. I was a bank manager and I got held at, gunpoint at my head, and it's that sort of the belief that something bad, some sort of trauma situation would happen again, and it's totally unlikely. But so then I'd avoid a bank.
I can imagine that. Like, you wouldn't even go in the bank. You probably have those old thoughts and experiences that came up, right? Wow.
Yeah. So the lie is based on a one-off random incident that happened in my 20s. And multi-story car parks are like that for another reason. I was policing, and it was a guy with a knife. Like me and him in the car park. So I always get nervous when I go into a multi-story car park. But it's not a lie, because it happened, but it's very unlikely that it would, that it would happen again. So sort of those fears are lies, aren't they, that hold you back from then doing things that you need to do.
Those are great examples. So I'm glad you brought those up, because the experiences, right? Like Caroline talked about, I didn't even talk about like experiences, right? So what are some of the things, like her having this experience in a bank, her having this experience in a multi-story car park, right? So all of these different lies. We got some really cool ones that are coming in too. And some that you probably see that are a lie for you, right? So meaning, like, these lies are not just restricted to just us. There's other people that have these same things. Now, the difference is we become conscious of them, while other people who don't have this exercise or may not even realize that it's a lie have to continue living with these lies, unfortunately, for years and decades, and even the rest of their life, right? Without changing it. So, and listen, I'm not telling you guys to do anything unhealthy, not at all. But even things like your health, you can change. Me having a sickle cell anemia crisis and going into the hospital on a weekly basis was my reality until I had to stop and think like, man, like, how the hell do I change this? Like, I can't, this is crazy. I used to miss out on school. I actually stayed back in 9th grade because I got so sick in the 9th grade that I would miss weeks and months, and I had to learn how to walk all over again. I had a crisis that was so bad I couldn't bend this arm right here for literally like 6 weeks. I couldn't bend it because I had gotten into a crisis and the blood had got pulled up so bad, right? So it was like stuck like this for like 6 weeks, right? So I missed not missed the entire year of school, but I missed so much in and out that I ended up staying back that ninth grade. And the lie was that this would be my reality forever. So there's even health things that you can change. The mind is more powerful than we would ever imagine, right? For the good or bad. It could.
And so many people are putting comments in the chat that I bet you.
What do we got?
I'm looking at them thinking that there's so many things that we can all relate to here. I'm not good enough, I'm not a good mother. Donna said that was one of the lies that she's believed or heard. I'm not good enough to figure things out. Olivia put that. I'm too old to meet a new partner, Susan. I'm alone, Chase. Coach Chase. I'm ugly, I'm not good enough. That it's too complicated. I have a mind like a sieve, no memory. I mean, my mum says that all the time. Oh, I have a mind like a sieve.
What is that?
Okay, so a mind like a sieve means that you can doesn't it actually, a sieve holds things in, doesn't it? But doesn't it mean that things just fall out of your
gotcha.
memory?
Okay,
so you get information and you can't remember a lot of it because it sort of goes through a sieve, I think it means. My mum says that all the time. And yeah, some really great ones. I'm just scrolling. Stupid is one of mine. And I'm not good enough. Old, maybe. Mary, I'm ADD. I'm ADD.
That was one I used to tell myself too. But I'm right? So a big one for me was I can't pay attention. Like, it's hard for me to focus and pay attention. That was a huge one. And that's actually, I'm going to be 100% open. That's one that I just started working on 4 months ago. That if I'm looking at something or I'm reading something, then I have to jump to something else, right? That, I've got this ADD thing going on. And it's just a lie. As you start to practice and get better at these things and recognize them, then you can overcome them. So
I think also when people look at like within our community, people that are doing well and they're not yet there yet, it's sort of always too complicated, or I'm not going to get there. They can do it, but it's different for them. Yeah, that sort of thing. I'm trying to think if there's other fear of heights.
Look at Jeff. So Jeff just put, I don't communicate well. Now look at this. So here's the thing. So this is like me being in the grocery store and talking to everyone, and I didn't even realize what the hell I was doing, but Greg recognized it. Dude, you're this crazy extrovert. Who thinks Jeff communicated very well on Wednesday? Jeff, you did this so well that I was actually thinking about it after the event. Right? So what we see, others never see. Right? Others never see what we see, especially when it comes to the negative and the things that we think we lack in. So look at the comments, Jeff, right there. Like Carrie's like a pro, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is it, guys. So go through this exercise this weekend. Like I said, it's going to take you a couple of days. Don't rush through it. And what I want to do is I want to come back. How about we give ourselves a week? like we come back next Friday and kind of discuss this and talk about the lies.
We're going to be transformed by next Friday, Ty.
I love
this is
it.
going to be it is going to get ugly. I like the way that you is that a lie?
Is that a lie?
Yeah. So maybe it is, but it is going to be an interesting I would expect it to be emotional for people, but I love that idea, and and once people have put this together in a journal, they can go back to it when they're feeling vulnerable or fear, or those emotions that we that sometimes creep in. And yeah, I mean, I was Polly said I was starting to cry just listening to Ty. I felt emotional when you were going through all of that as well.
Me too. I thought I was going to break down. I understand.
Yeah.
Hold it in.
And you do realize we're live. Our first tip, maybe not our first tears on the MMM, but I think it's that, and like George just said, he's always been I've always been so open to self-criticism, and I always aim to learn from it. I'm really curious if I will cry or not. That's good. So yeah, I sort of know I will. Oh, right. Maybe that's another line, but it's a great exercise, and I think that it's just gonna lead to some fantastic affirmations that people can then work with every day and read through when they are coming across those lies from other people.
Yeah, Michelle says Michelle, you're one of my favorite people. Every time I see you, there's just something that I connect with you. I'm already tearing up just thinking about this. I will have tissues nearby, LOL. How many people need the instructions again? If you need the instructions again, just put me in the chat box. All right, so George says me, Philip says me. I will take this video and I'll put it into the group. How about that? This will be one of a few videos that we put. Actually, we're streaming.
Oh, we're live in the group, aren't we?
Yeah, we're live in the group right now. So we're streaming in the group. So you can go back into the group and you can watch it again or listen to it. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to write down all of the lies, right? You're going to skip 4 spaces. So skip 4 spaces, lie, and 4 spaces, lie, then 4 spaces, lie, right? And you'll do that for about 2 or 3 days. And that's going to be in pencil. And then you'll go back, right? After you've written down all of the lies, you've exhausted, your brain, you can't think of anymore. Then you'll take a red pen, and you'll write in the truth, right? In between those lies, right? And then day 7, this will be like Thursday or so, or Friday, you'll go in and with a eraser, erase all of the lies. And all you'll be left with is the truth, right? So watch the video again. We'll put that in there. I want to close out with, speaking of Jeff, let's close out with Jeff's song. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Let's see what happens. Go put your biggest takeaway from today's session in the group as well, guys. Biggest takeaway from today's session in the group. Let's see.
Yeah, and encourage people to do the exercise as well.
You got it? Can you hear
got it? Yeah. Let's dance.
Uh-oh. That was the other lie. I'm not a good dancer.
I'm a great dancer.
Head up high, right on time. Yeah, we all want a little more feeling. Yeah, we all want a little more time. It's a Monday morning, rise and shine.
Don't believe the lies.
Yeah, we all want a little more flavor. Yeah, we all got a plan in mind. It's a Monday morning, rise and shine. Set your heart faithfully.
Put your biggest takeaways under the video in the group.
Meant to be, it's up to me. Speak your voice, state your mind, make your choice. We're moving high, 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 high.
right, guys, there we go. Perfect. Boom. It's coming back. Jeff's trying to come back in again. Hey, so under the video, because I want as many people in the group to see this as possible. So what Facebook does, as you guys probably know already, is the more engagement that a post get, the more it'll expand it to the group. So go in and like the video that you see in Facebook. Even if you're watching it live right now, like this video and then comment what's been your biggest takeaway. Or even if you don't have a biggest takeaway, just put something in there. Just put wow in there. Just put I love this so that more people can see it. All right. And that is it. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, guys.
See you Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy that process.